Welcome to 305 Radio. My name is Struck, and I'm here with Dre Mav.
What's up, everybody?
So, for this episode, this is episode, I don't remember, but it's going to be a great episode because we are in a magical place called Tea and Poets, and we're with the owner, entrepreneur, Joaquin. Joaquin, what's your last name? Ortiz. I never knew your last name. I'm sorry. My apologies.
All good.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Joaquin Ortiz. I'm one of the owners. Actually, I have two business partners, but one of the owners of Tea and Poets.
Excellent. And this isn't the only business you're a part of.
No, I have right now. I have four. I have three for-profit businesses and one nonprofit business. So
Amazing.
4 businesses.
Amazing. All right, dope. So let's just get started with the nitty-gritty where we're at.
All right.
Tell us about Tea and Poets, man. And let me give a quick disclaimer. As our listeners know, we record live on location. We are at Tea and Poets. We have a squad of people behind us hanging out, having a great time. So it's not a problem at all. If you guys hear the music, you hear everything behind us, it's because we're here. We are here.
This is an organic episode.
This is an organic podcast, you know what I mean? And we're going to have some interruptions here and there, but it's the nature of the business, you know?
Yeah.
So back to the question. Tell us a little bit about Tea and Poets. How did this concept come to mind, man? Because it's not only like retail, it's a spot for artists. You have coffee. I don't know what else you got going on here.
So Tea and Poets is a place that I wish that I had when I was young.
Okay.
I wasn't the best kid. I got in a lot of trouble in my teens. I come from a divorced family, and a few times I came home in a cop car. In the back of the cop car. And I kind of wish that I had a place to go to that was not the streets. So I always knew that I wanted to create a place that kids could go to, that teenagers could go to, and give them a place that wasn't out on the streets. So as technology started to creep more and more into our life, I knew that we were going to start interacting with people differently. And in a way, I kind of wanted to be a precursor to that, and I wanted to give people a place where they could still interact, a place where people could kind of go back to the roots, if you could, of social interaction. And I knew that shopping was starting to change. Amazon really started to take over. A lot of people were just interacting online. And so I saw small businesses, the future of small businesses were going to start to go out of business. So watching people interact less and less in person, and seeing small businesses slowly start to not be able to make it because of giants like Amazon, and Walmart converted to a lot more shopping online. Just a lot of these businesses started converting to online sales. I knew that I wanted to create a space for the kids who wanted to hang out and the small businesses that needed a place that was affordable for them to run their small business. I'm also a poet. I love poetry. I love art. So
awesome.
If you were able to jump inside of my head, hello, welcome. If you're able to jump inside of my head, this is what it would look like. The store is what it would look like.
This is eclectic.
Yeah, it's art. It's poetry. It's it is the essence of what I would hope to create if I was a 17-year-old punk kid and wanted a place to hang out on a Wednesday night. I would be able to have some tea, and that tea would kind of be like a cocktail, and it wouldn't have alcohol in it, but it would be like a cocktail, and I would be able to do my poetry or my singing or my guitar or whatever, and maybe shop and buy something for my mom, and be able to play a board game, come here on a date. This is a great place for a date. We've had so many people. My business partner actually found his wife here. She's one of our vendors.
Did he find his wife already here, or
no? So so that's her booth right there. So she came here and asked for a space to rent, and in that space, that we rented her, they kind of became more and more friends, and they've been married now for 2 years. So it's pretty cool.
Story,
it's really neat. Our events manager, she met her boyfriend here playing board games. So in a way, I think that when you come to Tea and Poets, you understand that this is a different energy than normal Miami. And in a way, you let your guard down because you just feel the energy here. Feels like home. It should feel familial. That's why we put the couches. We have blankets. Something about being here should feel very comfortable. And in that essence, you're able to kind of connect with people in a little bit different of a way than you would at a bar or, you know, at the line at Publix or something like that, you know, and so you're able to make almost like a little bit more of a genuine connection. And then
Definitely
because
so.
there are so many different things to talk about inside the store, you're able to create a conversation
Out
almost
of
out of
nothing.
nowhere, right? Where, you know, honestly, like it's hard for guys to approach girls, you know, like for some reason we have to always know the right thing to say and we have to be suave and demure and the man and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know what to say and you might see that girl in the line of Publix and you're not gonna like look inside of her cart and be like, I love pasta too, you know, like because then you're a creeper, right? But you could be sitting at TM Poets, you know, and be like, man, that lamp is so weird, it's got a giraffe on it, and some girl might be like, yeah, it is kind of cool, right? And then all of a sudden you get like an organic, genuine conversation that you wouldn't get at, you know, at the gym. Can I help you with the weights? Like, let me show you how to work out. You know, like that doesn't.
You're not doing
those
that
don't
right.
work for everybody. That type of conversation starters.
Yeah.
So it works here.
So for everybody listening, I do have to mention that we are in the heart of Miami. We're located in South Miami. We're at 5701 Sunset Drive, and that's in South Miami. Tell me a little bit about Sunset Place and what kind of made you pick this location for such a special place.
Okay, so this mall in the past, we've been here for 6 years. We just celebrated our 6-year anniversary in July, and prior to, well, not prior to. Let me rephrase. So before the 6 years, there had been 3 different mall owners. So now in its 6th year, we've had the 3rd owner of the mall. It originally was owned by Simon Malls, same owners at Dayland Mall and the Falls. And when I approached Simon Malls about a concept like this, it was way outside of what they accept in their malls. It was way too bohemian. We weren't a AAA tenant. We weren't, you know, Victoria's Secrets or Banana Republic or, you know, Apple. And that's the caliber of stores that Simon Mall brings in. Now, again, this was 6 years ago, so it was before malls really started hurting. They had just started hurting, but they weren't hurting nearly as much as they have been the last 3 or 4 years. And I approached, and they just pushed me away real quick. They had no interest. And so about 2 years later, so the gentleman who declined me, his name was Diego, and every 6 months I put a little alarm in my phone and I would send him an email. I'd say, hey, Diego, you could have been collecting rent from me for the past 6 months, but you know what's going on? This spot is still empty. You know, 6 months to go by, 6 months to go by. So 2 years later, the mall sold. So they sold to another company that is partnered with Comras, who owns Coco Walk. They also own Lincoln Road.
Oh, wow.
Michael Comras is his name. He was one of the partners. And the young lady who was the leasing agent was from New York. And so when I pitched her this idea, she said, oh, kind of like Chelsea Market in New York. And I go, kind of, but with poetry and with live events. And so she was very interested in that. Younger girl, and she gave us a chance. And we just exploded from there.
And that was what, 2016?
That was 2016. Yeah, 2016. So that was when you and I met, 2016. So yeah, it just it took off from there. There's a lot of schools, as you said. This is the hardest of Miami, you know, and there are a lot of schools in the area. It's a very strong 2-family income in this area, and we just do really well, thank God. You know,
You guys have done. You guys are so different that you've actually outlived a lot of the stores in this mall.
Oh yeah. We outlived Banana Republic. We outlived American Eagle Outfitters, Victoria's Secrets, Express, Gap.
Esprit, I mean, everything. I've
Everything.
walked through this mall and there's nothing familiar from when, you know, we used
Yeah,
to
Z
come out
Gallery
right out
just
here.
closed, unfortunately. Like the
Yeah.
mall itself is maybe 20% occupied and struggling, and we aren't. And that's because TM Poets doesn't depend on the mall to be successful. You know, it's not like you're walking through the mall casually and you come along TM Poets. We are a destination, so people come to this store for this environment.
Well, it's
for
a
this atmosphere.
community that you guys have built over the years that it's definitely not going anywhere.
Correct. Thank God. Well, yeah. Well, I hope not. I mean, yeah,
Definitely
I hope not. From if I can control, it's not.
As far as TN Poets, I mean, the name itself tells you more or less the basis. And we've talked about community, but we do have a local market here. I know that you support a lot of the local artisans, local baked goods. You yourself have even traveled and brought some of the goods back
wow,
from
good memory.
yeah, from
Wow, good
places that you've
memory.
traveled to. So tell me a little bit more about just all of the components. What made you choose the name, and what that means to you?
Okay, so a lot of people do hear tea and poets and they think, well, you sell tea and there's poets, but there's
Right.
a much deeper meaning to what tea and poets is. So tea is something that starts off as a dry ingredient, and then it goes through this hardship of very hot water. It goes kind of almost through like a baptism by fire, if you may. And after it goes through this intense hardship, on the other end of its hardship, it's just this delicious, warm brew
Smooth brew,
that makes you
right?
feel comfortable, right? So the tea itself is a metaphor for going through something difficult in your life hard and coming out the other side better and more delicious. And that's the tea of your life. So the poet, when you're a poet, in my opinion, you are doing something that is in line with your element. And so, for example, an artist, when an artist is painting, that art may be that artist's poetry. When someone is cooking and they're cooking this incredible meal, that cooking may be their poetry. When you have a sports car driver, and that sports car driver is in the zone and they're just flying around those corners, they're in their poetry. So poetry, in terms of tea and poets, is a metaphor for what you do when you're in your zone, when you're in your groove and your vibe. So together, it's like, hey, we know you go through hardships and we know you get beat up in life. All of us can tell a story that's like, wow, that happened to us. Wow. But you get through that. And on the other end, hopefully you're warm and delicious and incredible. And then hopefully also in a part of
Hopefully,
your life,
Right.
yeah, you can't just, I don't like speaking in absolutes. So, but, and then hopefully you recognize that, and then you also see that we all have the poetry of our lives. Each one of us can find poetry in our lives in being in the zone of doing something that really feels special and dear to us.
And as you describe the what makes Tea and Poets such a good place, we look around and you see you have patrons coming in with the guitars strapped on their backs, their board games being pulled out. It's such a different vibe here.
Yeah. I mean, we create that. We work hard to create that. And I think a lot of that has to do with our staff. It's not easy to staff, especially in the hospitality industry. After COVID, 20% of the entire United States changed their occupation. And out of that 20%, 80% of that 20% was hospitality.
Oh,
So
wow.
we really struggled in keeping hospitality baristas. And I mean, we hire, 25 and under. So that demographic in itself has a hard time committing anything over 6 months to a year. So it really takes a lot of work to train a staff to make sure that the energy of what you feel in Tea and Poets is here when you walk in. Because one thing is having the colors and the smell and the incense and the artist all the stuff. But if you don't have that same energy that you see and feel that we created,
Just representing that.
represented behind the bar with the staff. So,
It's
but
excellent.
to continue to answer your question, the outside walls are all surrounded by anywhere between 17 and 25 vendors, depending on the month. The vendors are all on leases, just like you would lease a store inside of Dayland Mall. It's the exact same premise. They're on leases. Those leases are obviously not as long as a Dayland Mall lease, but they are on leases. And we try to eliminate as much crossover in product, so there's not a lot of competition. And we try to create a very diverse group of people. All of them are local. We care a lot about supporting the community and small business. And one of the kind of hidden geniuses of Tea and Poets is that once you have 20 vendors inside of Tea and Poets, it's not Tea and Poets marketing Tea and Poets. It's Tea and Poets plus 20 more people marketing Tea and Poets. Because people want them to come buy their candles and buy their jewelry and buy their hats. So it's not just me saying, hey, come to Tea and Poets. It's 20 other businesses that are also using their
Promoting.
voice to say, hey, come to Tea and Poets. And then if you add the stage and the performances that we do, where we host anywhere from 15 to 25, 26 events a month, you have all of those people also promoting come to Tea and Poets. And
Open mic is
watch
still every Wednesday.
every Wednesday, 6
Every
years
Wednesday.
straight.
That's
6
awesome.
years straight, every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. So we didn't do open mic for 2 months when COVID shut down. And as soon as it opened back up, we went back.
Just like nothing ever happened.
No, we struggled. I mean, Coronavirus was tough for us. We had days where we got the PPP, so we were able to keep, our management on staff. But we had days where like $7.50 in sales, like just really bad. And then at the end of the day, when we renewed our lease, because our lease ended, when we renewed our lease, they tried to quintuple it, and we renegotiated down to only tripling our lease. So
That's like almost a horror story that you fixed.
What can you do? I mean, like, thank God we were able to absorb that increase and still be profitable and still do well.
Yeah.
But no one wants their lease tripled. No one wants their lease doubled. And we negotiated that down from trying to increase it times
during or
5.
after COVID,
and right after
especially,
COVID. And we didn't get any rent relief. So it was tough. Like, I believe that if you were an entrepreneur, COVID really showed your true colors.
It tested
Absolutely.
you.
If you failed a business through COVID, that's that. And I'm not trying to beat anybody up about it. It's just COVID tested you. Like, COVID tested you. You either made it or you didn't. And there was no more difficult time in any of our lives to survive through 2 years of business than COVID. So
It's the truth.
I mean,
it's the truth. You're not trying to beat down anybody, but the truth is the truth.
no, everyone's going to give you an excuse. But nobody wants to read a book about someone's excuses on why they didn't make it. They want to read the book about how hard you got the shit kicked out of you. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah.
I'm not a cusser, but
Unless
how
you're
hard
gonna
you
start
get
cussing left and right all day.
No. But how hard you got the crap beat out of you, and then you came out on the other end successful, and you learned from that. Like, that's the story people want to read.
Yeah.
That's the inspiring story. It's not like, man, I tried really hard, and then I kept losing, and then there was this excuse and that excuse, and I just kind of gave up. And you know how many people have come in here and said, I had this exact idea. I love this concept. I had this exact idea. And I'm like,
you
oh,
didn't
okay.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. I try not to say, I don't want to say that, but I'm like, oh, okay.
Good for you.
I don't want to be like,
Thanks a lot, buddy.
but in a way, it's kind of like, and they're like, oh, and then, like if making it happen was easy, everybody would do it. Like, it's not easy.
It's truth.
Joaquin,
like,
I
you gotta
want
bleed for it.
to touch base on provider lifestyle, because there is a section here at Tea and Poets, and that is part of your nonprofit, correct? Sort of?
Kind of. So Provider Lifestyle is my very first business. I thought that I wanted to create a clothing brand that revolutionized fashion. And so I started printing Provider Lifestyle and all these like kind of spiritual logos and words on shirts. And that was such a great failure for me. Because I realized how difficult being successful really was. And you couldn't just put your stuff on shirts and hustle really hard and be successful. Although you think that is what it takes, but it's way more than that.
It's a lot more.
It's a lot more than that. And so, because I didn't have, Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears wearing shirts that said Provider, it didn't go anywhere. And so I quickly learned that I made a lot more money printing other people's stuff than I did printing my own. So I still print a few Provider things for myself to sell here as just like a fun project for myself. Mm-hmm. A percentage of every single Provider sale is donated to Conscious Acts of Kindness, which is where you're going. But as far as Provider Lifestyle is concerned, today we're a screen printing and warehouse facility. We do embroidery and screen printing, and we've printed for Dolphins, we printed for the Heat, we've printed for Whole Foods and Kind Snack Bars, as well as hundreds of small brands. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is helping that person who was in my position 10 years ago and wants to start their own clothing brand. And so I try to be obviously I want to make the sale, but I'm not going to lead them down the wrong path. I'm going to tell them, like, you're not going to start this business with $1,000. You're just not. So, it takes a little bit more, and it takes more grit and more effort than you could ever imagine. And you might not make it. So you better have all the influencers in your pocket and be ready to spend a minimum of $1,000 on merch just for them, and hope that goes out. And hope that they wear it and hope that it's cool and you like it. And so I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy kind of like a little bit of like the mentor coaching to the younger brands. And then again, every single sale, a percentage of it gets donated to Conscious Acts of Kindness.
And what exactly is the Conscious Acts of Kindness?
So Conscious Acts of Kindness is my 501c3 nonprofit. I established that like 8 years ago. And for me, I realized that sitting at a table and telling someone a really sad story and then asking them for money is not the way to get money. And a lot of nonprofits, that's what they do. They're going to tell you that, oh, there's these kids in India and they're just so sad and they have nothing. And it's, we need to help them. We need to help them. So please give me money so we can help them. And these are all the things that we're going to do to help them.
Mm-hmm.
I find that the person who may have $1 to give that person a donation is less likely to give that dollar when you sell them a sob story. But they are much more likely to sign up for a cornhole competition or to play a piñata breaking game or a balloon dart game
or a raffle
or
or
a
something.
raffle, something that is actually an event.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I tell you we're going to do a bar crawl and we're going to visit 5 bars in South Miami and you're going to spend $50 and have 5 free drinks at 5 bars in South Miami, you're going to be like, well, that's actually a good value. Because I can tell you right now that 1 drink in South Miami is $11.
Yep.
So I'm getting 5 drinks for $10 a drink. Okay, wow, maybe I can get 6 drinks or 7 drinks in there. And then I'll take a very large percentage of that after operating costs, and that goes to Conscious Acts of Kindness. And I'll tell people this bar crawl is going to send soccer balls to kids in Haiti. And we're going to, with this money from your bar crawl, we're going to buy 700 soccer balls. And we're going to send 700 soccer balls with school supplies and clothing to an orphanage in Haiti.
It's amazing.
I will make much more money for the company, Conscious Acts of Kindness, to then give to those kids in Haiti by doing a bar crawl or a cornhole
as
competition.
opposed to just asking.
Instead of just saying, hey, can I have $5 for kids in Haiti? You're just not as willing to give that money. So Conscious Acts of Kindness hosts global events that spotlight issues. We raise money for those issues, and then we put together some sort of package or donation, and we physically give that donation to that country or those kids in need or whatever it is. But we do it through an event. There has to be some fun, exciting event.
That's amazing, though. I
Thank you.
love that, man.
Thank you.
How many of these events have you had, and what have been the donations you've made?
Oh, we've had a lot. I would say, well over 100. So Conscious Acts of Kindness, not to downplay it, but you always believe everything after but it's the last of all my businesses. It's the one that I don't get to spend as much time as I would like to.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully I can retire in the next 20 years. I don't know if I'd want to, but even in retiring of 20 years of the for-profit businesses, then I'm able to really focus on the nonprofit one. But Conscious Acts of Kindness gets kind of like the little bit of time that I have, if possible. But to answer your question, we have fed an entire village in Bali, Indonesia. We sent kites to kids in India at Pushkar, India for the Kite Festival. We brought a group of people to the Marine Mammal Conservatory in the Keys and helped beached baby pilot whales.
Wow.
We sent a bounce house castle to kids in Senegal, West Africa.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. I mean, you see the video of that, and
It's wild.
you try to tell a child who, I don't know if you're familiar with Falling Whistles. Have you ever heard of Falling Whistles?
No.
A nonprofit, Falling Whistles. So what they do is they try to prevent children from being kidnapped in Africa. There's a lot of kidnapping in Africa.
Wow.
And a lot of these kids, the girls become sex slaves, and the guys, they get put to the guerrillas, and they become kind of like war criminals.
Oh my
And
God.
from very young, from 6-7 years old, they start training these kids with guns. It's very sad. So these kids, they haven't had the experience of playing. I know it sounds kind of weird, but like if you think about when we were all kids, we could go play, and when you were playing, you did not fear getting kidnapped. We didn't fear getting kidnapped and turned into war criminals,
Yeah.
and you didn't fear getting kidnapped and turned into a sex slave. But these kids in Senegal and a lot of places throughout Africa, that's what they fear. So they don't get the opportunity to go out and play. So we found a park, and we were able to hire guards to guard this entire park. And when I mean park, it's not a park like you're thinking with grass.
It's a
and
property.
like it's a sand
Open,
lot.
yeah.
It's a
Oh,
sand
wow.
lot. And So we had some people there working this project for us, and imagine explaining to a kid who's rarely ever seen grass, okay, so you're going to get into a house, but this house is made of rubber, and you're going to climb into this house that's made of rubber, and you're going to get to jump and bounce around in this house made of rubber, but nothing inside the house is going to break. You'll be able to fall and bounce around the
And
house.
play and jump
And the kids, like, they can't conceive what you're telling them. So then they're a little skeptical at first, and we finally bring them there, and they look at this house, and it had the slide and the ladder. It was a big castle. And you watch this video, and you see no fear and full joy, and that is just like, that makes every single thing worth it, and that propels you to do more events and to raise more money and to touch lives in the way that Conscious Acts of Kindness does.
If anyone wanted to take if anyone wanted to take a look at all these events, where would they be able to?
ConsciousActsOfKindness.org.
.org.
ConsciousActsOfKindness.org. Yeah.
ConsciousActsOfKindness.org.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You'll see a bunch of thumbnails. You can click on them. There's photos and videos there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, let's take this back. We have Tea and Poets, and before we segue into your other businesses and everything else you do, when you look at, you mentioned the life of the mall and that malls are suffering and they're going through it right now. How do you, what would you do in a mall like Sunset Place if I gave you the keys to the whole property and told you to revamp it? What do you think that a mall, a place of this size in general, would need to draw people back?
Oh, I think it's dead.
It's over?
Yeah. If you told me that I was the owner of this mall, I would sell it to UM. I swear to God. You want like a business decision?
Absolutely.
I would sell this to UM. UM's campus can't expand any more than it is. It can't. This is 1 mile from UM. I would go over and contact UM, and I would sell this to UM, and I would turn this into a secondary campus.
Brilliant.
You want my answer? There's my answer.
I love it.
You want a legit business? Yeah, there you go. There's the you. Better show the camera. What a great idea.
This is a great idea brought to you by
So
Joaquin.
yeah, I wouldn't. So rents are so expensive right now. Overhead is so high. Labor is astronomically high. As an entrepreneur, maybe people aren't going to like this. I apologize for saying this, but I am not thrilled that we're going to continue to increase the hourly wage up and up and up, because at the end of this month, on the 30th, I have to pay all my employees now $11 an hour. Do you want to buy a caramel macchiato for $7.50, $8.50? Because that's what I have to charge you in order to pay that employee $11 an hour. So it is a circle, because everyone's going to make more money, but the people who aren't
Everything
being
is going up.
paid minimum wage, they're not affected by it. If you're paid $13 an hour and the guy getting paid right now $10 an hour goes up to 11, you don't go from 13 to 14.
Yeah.
And you don't go from $27,000 a year to $32,000 a year. You don't go from $52,000 a year to $68,000 a year because the $11 an hour employee went up. But the people who own businesses with those $11 an hour employees, their cost of doing business goes up. Therefore, the things that you buy go up. So something like coffee, think about all the hourly employees, like the $11 an hour employees. All those places that employ those people's labor costs are going to jump.
How much was a macchiato before
So when we started, I could sell a macchiato for $4.50. Now I'm going to have to sell a macchiato for $6.50.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
It's a big jump. Yeah. And then you're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, well, I'm paying my employees a fair wage.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that I don't want people to make money and live a fair wage. I'm just saying, well, just look at what happens. Like, everything is connected. So it's a struggle.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point of view. Some perspective.
It's an entrepreneur. Like, until you physically have to take the money out of your pocket and like pay it, you don't understand. Yeah. You're always going to look at it. There's such a difference between owner brain and employee brain.
They're not the same.
They're not the same. You don't understand it.
What's the biggest difference when you were employee brain versus now that you're owner brain?
I didn't understand the value of an item. That was one thing. Like, I didn't physically understand the value of a straw. And I felt just fine passing the responsibility up.
Okay.
Like, you would work on a task, and then when that task can't be completed by you, or you think that you can't complete that task, you're just like, I tried, I can't do it.
Nope, let's pass it on to
Pass
the
it,
next
and
person.
you're going to pass it either unilaterally or you're gonna pass it up. And you you go to your manager like, oh, I wasn't able to do X, Y, Z, and they're gonna be like, freaking, employees,
Whatever.
like I'll take
Let
care
me
of
do
it,
it.
right? So when you're at the top, you look up, there's nobody, there's a mirror looking right back down, and be like, ha ha,
Guess who you're asking?
Guess who
yourself.
you're asking yourself. And then also, like, you look at stuff like straws. I'll give you the example of straws. Like a case of straws is $50-$60, right? And okay, there's like 5,000 straws in there, but that's still $50-$60. And you have an employee, that like picks a bunch out, and then like a bunch of them fall on the floor, and you're like, that was like 10 cents, 15 cents. You're like, 15 cents, that's less in my pocket, and maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but
It adds up.
people
if that
are,
happens every day.
yeah, you're successful because you care about the 15 cents, not because you can prove to other people that you don't care about the 15 cents. And I think that's a very incorrect view that a lot of people have about making money, is that they're like, look how much money I can spend. I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a baller. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy the gold covered steak. I'm going to go out and I'm going to throw money all over the place. And this is how I determine that I feel that I'm successful in my life. It actually should be the other way around. It should be like, look how much money I've been able to save this month. But we have it in a way where it's like, I make so much money that I'm able to throw it. And the problem is that the middle class always wants to pretend like they're making more money and more successful than they are. A lot of entrepreneurs,
Especially in Miami, right?
$30,000 millionaire, $30,000 millionaire, without question.
Insane.
And so what happens is that maybe the person who's at the club that does make $8-9 million a year has the ability to take $4 or $5 grand, $10 grand, $20 grand, and throw it out that night in once, right? Or buy the $600 gold covered steak. But the guy who's making $65,000 a year, that is kind of getting by, and he's in $8,000, $10,000 of debt, he wants to pretend like he's much more successful than he really is. So he does throw out that $5 grand to have the look, or to buy the gold covered steak, and everyone go, oh my God, Bill bought the gold covered steak. Wow. And in essence, like, that's where we find value now. And I think it should be the other way around. I think it should be like, I was able to save $8 grand this month.
Heck yeah.
I didn't go to the club and throw $8,000 in the air, or buy the dinner for the entire table, or pick up the whole round of drinks. I actually saved that money this month.
Facts. And plus, the gold covered steak doesn't taste like anything.
It's overrated.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't taste
You don't
like anything.
gold
You don't
doesn't
taste
taste
gold.
like anything,
Correct.
dude. You just
Who wants metal on their steak?
who wants?
Come on, guys,
man.
please stop.
You want the steak to taste earthy? Get some truffle oil.
Speaking of
Call it a day.
steak,
All right. Was that the transition?
yes,
Whoa,
I think
whoa.
it's a perfect moment.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Before we leave the mall,
Oh yeah, the mall.
before we leave the mall,
All right.
we're calling Diego. We're letting him know. Thanks
Yeah,
for
right.
nothing, buddy.
I have no right. Exactly. Yeah. I literally would send like emails to that guy nonstop. Like, dude, you could have collected money from me again. You could have collected money from me again. He was like, still not interested. What can I say?
Hey, but
He has
I
a-
admire your how consistent
I
you are.
know,
though.
legit. Like, I chased this place down for 2 years. Like, I just knew that this was going to be my business. I just knew it. And once they finally said, yeah, I reached out to my 2 now business partners. I was like, hey guys, I got a crazy idea. You want to jump on board with this crazy idea? And both of them are like, yeah,
Awesome.
like I'm on it, and here we are.
That's super dope, man. And so now, we mentioned steak.
Okay.
We mentioned business partners.
Okay.
Let's talk about food, right?
All right.
So you have a culinary background.
I do.
That's how I met you. I met
that's
you in
true.
the culinary
I
world.
do. Hello, welcome.
And for those of you that are wondering why he keeps saying hello over and over, it's because this is his spot. We here doing it. We doing it.
Yeah.
So, Jealous Fork.
Jealous Fork.
Tell us about Jealous Fork, man. Just, how did the concept of Jealous Fork happen? And you've done a lot. You've been on Food Network,
Yeah.
Guy Ferry.
Yeah.
Not
Deco
once,
Drive.
but
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Deco Drive.
Yeah.
Tell me, let's start from the beginning of Jealous Fork, man. How did this happen?
So from the very beginning is that back when we were all young, my guy friends, I had 6 solid guy friends, and we would go on guys trips every single year. And every single time we'd go to a different country or a different city in the US, we would always look up best breakfast, best pancakes. So for like 6, 7 years, I was doing all this pancake research without knowing I was doing pancake research, you know? And so when my business partner Henrik and I had some free time, we would come over to my house and make pancakes. And we would just make pancakes because we liked eating pancakes. You know, I would put it on my Instagram and like I'd show my followers and like, you know, do a video and put up a photo. And, you know, I don't have a tremendous amount of followers, but the likes to comments ratio on my photos was a little higher than a normal post. And people were just like, where am I going to get that? When are you going to come to my house and cook? What is that? And there was this like kind of this light bulb moment. It's like Field of Dreams. Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, you know?
If you build it, they will come.
I was hoping you were going to get the quote. You know, so I had this like light bulb moment and I was like, holy smokes, you know, maybe I'm going to open a pancake restaurant. And so I, you know, tell Henrik, I'm like, you know, we should open a pancake restaurant.
But not just any pancake restaurant.
Yeah, you know, so that was the idea. So then we stopped putting anything on Instagram with pancakes. And we took the next 3 months to break a pancake, just the physical plain pancake, down to a science. And we must have recipe tested 30 different recipes. I mean, we went with the flour, the sugar, the baking powder, the baking soda, like literally a science. Like we were Breaking Bad, you know, like we were up in that thing. Like, but what did you think? We tried to make our own buttermilk. I mean, everything until we got to a pancake that is just out of this world by itself. And it's a beautiful combination of a biscuit and a pancake. It has to proof like bread. Like if you're familiar with baking bread, and sometimes we proof our pancake batter. It is the consistency of mashed potatoes. It is thick and dense, and it is just another level. So once we got,
I'm so hungry.
Yeah, once we got to that stage, my business partner Henrik was online, and he was looking through eBay, and he sees this food truck for sale. And it's like right here in Miami. And he's like, hey, Kino, what do you think about a pancake food truck? I'm like, pancake food truck? Huh. And I like jump online. I'm like, pancake food truck, Miami. Nothing. Pancake food truck, Florida. Nothing. I'm like, pancake food truck, United States. No. I'm like, dude, are we going to be the first pancake food truck in the country?
Amazing.
Like, no way. And then so we called the guy up and we went there and bought it that day. We're like, drove to the guy. We drove it around. It was it looked like a cow. I guess he was like an Argentinian grill, and so he had the entire truck was black with like white cow spots on it. And then there was this huge button on the side where you'd think it would be like a no, it was moo sounds. He had 3 different moo sounds. I swear to God, you would push it and it was like, muff. I'm like, okay, you push the other button, it was like, like it's so weird. We're like, what did this guy pull up? And he's like, you know,
Guess
like,
who's here, baby?
So weird.
Yeah,
We ripped that out real quick. But yeah, so we you know, clean that out, set up the menu. As you were touching on, Dre, we actually created a savory pancake. So one of the things that's really unique about Jealous Fork is that it's not only sweet pancakes. I mean, we've got the chocolate and the strawberry and the lemon, like all your usual suspects. But what we want to do is we want to create a pancake in itself that could be like bread or a starch, you know? So if you eat chicken, right? And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have, you know, a chicken, a Southwest Tex-Mex style chicken dish. Okay, you're probably going to have salsa and corn and, you know, tomatoes and onions and, you know, maybe like a creamy sauce and some cheese on there. We did the exact same thing, but instead of taking whatever starch would be on that chicken dish, we cooked fresh corn into our pancakes and we made like a cornbread cake.
Amazing.
And so we did that with hamburger, where the pancake buns are actually the buns of the hamburger. We did that with a Vietnamese sandwich that's called a banh mi. And so we made a pork belly banh mi pancake. And then we did the chicken one that I was just telling you about. So we've done several other ones. We did shrimp and grits. So we just started really looking at a pancake as just a carb or starch in the dish that had nothing to do with the word pancake. And people just loved it. Like, we were just slammed. We were originally, when we opened, we were in Kendall, at Indian Hammock Park on the corner of 84th Street and Kendall Drive. And we were slammed. Like, we would have an hour to 2 hour wait on the weekends, like a long, long line. And we were there for 2 years. And then one day, the second highest person in Dade County parks drove by with his wife, and these words are from his mouth in a meeting we had with him. And hello, welcome. No, those aren't the words from his mouth. But what I'm going to say next are. But he was driving with his wife, and his wife's like, "Oh wow, what is that?" And he says, "Oh, that's one of the vendors that we have here parked in the park." And she goes, "Oh my God, that's so dangerous. Look at the amount of people in that long line. I can't believe you allowed that." And so as soon as she said that, he came and kicked us out of the park. We got so busy that we kind of like outgrew our stay.
That is amazing. That's the best
that's
reason
a
to get kicked
I mean,
out.
yeah, yes and no, yes and no. But I mean, by that point, we already knew that we had outgrown the truck.
And you were onto something.
We were onto something. We're definitely onto something.
Yeah.
You know, we had been featured, as you said. We were on Deco Drive. We have just phenomenal. We have like 145 star reviews on Yelp. We have we were on what Deco Drive. I said NBC 6 in the mix.
You ended up
We
on
got
Food
we
Network.
got approached by Food Network, which is really cool. We were on Guy Fieri's Guy's Grocery Games, which was just a wild experience. Like that was just a.
Is Guy as crazy as he is?
He's
on
a
TV?
wild guy. Like I can see why he's successful. Like he's successful because he is so high energy and he's so engaging that you just kind of like when people have high energy, you connect with them, you know. And like my dad always used to say that like positive will always attract positive and negative. Negative will never attract a positive. It will always attract another negative. But a positive person is always going to attract everybody. You can feel Guy's energy. He just has this positive vibe where he's just like, he wants to connect with you. He asks you questions. You know, when I was on the show, he's hazing me. He's giving me shit on the show. Like, he's like, you can tell he's a cool guy, you know? So that was a wonderful experience. The time goes fast. Like, you know, you watch these cooking shows, these reality shows, and in your head, when you're sitting on the couch, like, I would have done this, I would have done that. And you don't get it. They structure these shows to mess with you in the time. They structure these shows to get you hype. They run you around the supermarket before. They put you on the shopping cart, and they say, okay, pretend like you're running over here. Pretend like they're running here. So they get you in this like frantic mindset before it even starts. And you know how he goes like, okay, everybody, on 3, we're going to da-da-da. So when I say 2, and he gives you this trick where he tries to like catch you when he goes 3, 2, 1, go. That's totally staged.
Okay.
Like they mess with you because they do 2 takes. And they tell you that the first take isn't the real take, that he's just going to tell you what it is. And they do the second take.
We
so
should do that.
They mix it up. They mix it up because Henrik and I, my partner, we were like so aware, like we're not going to get screwed on this. We're not. And then the way that they structure it, they get you. They get you. They
It's a
know.
wrap. You got
dude,
caught.
These people have done like 30 freaking seasons. They know exactly what they're doing. They put you into their wheel and you're like, and before you know it, they're like, you got a plate in 4 minutes. And you're like, oh wow! So that was
Also,
a wild
plating was
experience.
savage. You only have 4 minutes to plate.
You have as much time as you can get, and if you're plating in 4 minutes or whatever it is, when you plate, you plate. Like you plate when you have time. But what I would suggest to anyone who's ever thinking about going on a cooking show is that you got to keep it simple. Like Kiss, you know, like you have to keep whatever your idea is as simple as possible, and if you think it's simple, make it more simple. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but like expand your idea only if you have more time to do it. But you're better off executing something simple and great
Like the
versus
less is more kind of
super
thing.
fancy and like 30%.
Right.
Amazing.
So,
So now we have word of advice from someone that's been there.
yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, have you considered, you know, shit, you just came out of nowhere. You're like, let's do pancakes. And, you know, where do you have to think and ask yourself, how far can you take pancakes? Man, you've taken pancakes as far as they go.
We'll see. You
Well,
never
that's
know.
true. You're
You
right.
never know.
We're not talking. We're not
You never
speaking in
know.
absolutes.
Yeah, we're not speaking absolutes. So, you know, I think there's, I mean, we did like pancakes and ribs with watermelon salad and goat cheese. But you'd never in your life think that pancakes would go with ribs
even
and a
mix.
watermelon salad.
Told you
But they
about
do.
that
It
life.
plays. And you throw it out in the middle of June when it's hot and summery and people are just like, holy crap, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, like, just take out the word pancake and put in bread or starch. And, like, what meal do you eat that doesn't have bread or starch?
I'm still amazed that you proof your pancake dough.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, your
proofs.
pancake batter.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
turns
batter
to
dough. Yeah, it
you know what I
proofs.
mean?
Yeah, it proofs.
That's
So,
amazing.
At some point, you were even selling the batter, weren't you?
dang, you're good.
I am
Okay,
good.
wow, you're good. Someone's done their research for this podcast.
That is awesome.
You're on your game,
Well,
bro.
I've been here from the beginning,
You
so
have.
I
That's
know
true.
a lot of the BTS and
Yeah.
stuff that people usually
That's
don't know.
so
Wow. So
you
as a-
almost gave away the good. You were selling the goods.
yeah, I was literally selling the goods. So as I was saying with coronavirus, it really tests you. So when we closed down Miami, when Miami closed down for 2 months and we were deemed not an essential business, we said, well, there's got to be another way for us to
Wait,
make money.
who said pancakes are not essential?
Who said food wasn't
Right?
essential?
I'm
Like,
saying.
like,
You're fired.
honestly, like whoever, think about it this way, whoever is making a paycheck to go home and pay their rent and support their family, you deem that person's business is not essential to them. Like,
Of course.
isn't everybody's paycheck essential?
Exactly.
So I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So we basically were going from having 2-hour waits every single weekend to being zeroed out, and there had to be another way to make income. And as I was saying earlier, like coronavirus tests you as an entrepreneur. It tests you. You got to think about outside the box. I talk with so many chefs throughout coronavirus time where they're like, "Oh well, we're fine dining. Our food is not meant to go." I'm like, money is money.
Yeah.
Like, pull your ego out of it. You got to pull your ego out of it. Because you do fancy fine dining food doesn't mean that you can't put all that stuff in a to-go container and sell it. And one of my favorite chefs, Gagang Anand, he's in Thailand. He's a 3 Michelin star chef. And he took his entire menu, which was like 35 courses, and he created a brand new menu that was like 6 courses and made it to go. If a 3 Michelin star restaurant can do that, what in the world is your fancy Miami fine dining excuse?
It's all that ego.
It's
that
ego.
Miami ego.
So we realized that we had a strong enough following that liked our pancakes and that everybody was staying home. And maybe people wanted to cook Jealous Fork at home. So very quickly, we created a shopping cart on our website, and we put in the pancake batter on that shopping cart. It was $20 for a quart, and we would deliver as often as we could. And so we threw that up. We put it on our Instagram. We started advertising it like crazy, and my God, the response was wild. Like,
You had a route.
dude, it was insane. Like, we were literally 4 days a week driving for 8 to 12 hours a day delivering pancake batter.
That is amazing.
Like, so I have a large truck, and in the back of my truck, I put 2 coolers, 2 like those big fishing coolers, like
Yeah.
the big white ones,
Uh-huh.
full of double stacked rows of pancake batter, covered in ice. We didn't know anything about coronavirus at the time, so we had like gloves and masks, and like we would
They
look
were
like
all suited up. with
Breaking
the
Bad, like
fire.
back to Breaking Bad, like
suits.
we were like hazmat suits delivering pancake batter, like we'll leave it on your doorstep, like So we had routes on Google Maps, and you can put in your Google Maps route. It got to you could only put in so many routes that we had so many routes that we maxed out Google Maps. So we had to buy a map software that's used by like UPS and Amazon and stuff like that
God.
to have more than like 20 routes or 30 routes. And we delivered all the way from the Keys to like Fort Myers. Like
Amazing.
it was, and then we're like, these orders would come in. We're like, Fort Myers? Who's buying pancake batter?
What the heck?
You gotta drive to Fort Myers for $20. But we did it. Like, I'm telling you, we made it happen. And so we ended up crushing it. We grew about 390% as Jealous Fork the business between 2021 and 2020.
That is amazing.
It was insane.
And I'm telling you, I think the most amazing part of your story is that you've been so innovative when you've been against the wall. You're back against the wall.
See, that's when you innovate.
Exactly. No, like in our previous podcast, Rudy, he took advantage. He during COVID,
He
he's
also
an
had
entrepreneur.
a printing company.
He made it happen. You yourself, you said it. COVID's gonna test you. You've been tested, and you flew through it. You flew through it. You put it was
fell through it.
I
Next,
mean-
okay. Like, what other chance do you have? Like, I looked up at that mirror. It was me.
Yeah,
I couldn't
you
tell
could have
someone
passed it up.
Yeah.
You could have handed it up. But so what happened to that portion of the business? Did you continue that,
Wow,
or
good
why
question.
why
You're
did
good.
you?
Yeah, dang, you're very good. You're very good. So Jealous Fork at home is a massive potential business. We don't have the time right now to go delivering, but there is a full business plan for launching Jealous Fork at home and expanding that concept way more than just pancake batter.
Oh my
That's
God.
all I'm gonna say.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that didn't fall. Like, we didn't make all that money, and we weren't that busy for those 2 months for us to be like, okay, well, now coronavirus is over, let's get back in the truck and make some more money. Like, thanks, see you later. No, that was like, okay, let's put this on the back burner because we're coming back to this. This is something here.
That is amazing.
So yeah, I nothing immediately, but there is a lot of plans that are already like in the works, just ready to like put that bullet in and shoot it.
Nice.
So I know you can't disclose all this information and all these plans, but what more can we
Exclusive.
expect from Joaquin, from Tea and Poets, Jealous Fork? What exactly do you have in mind for the near future?
I mean, like, I'm the kind of person that I can't look at this red cup here and not figure out a way to make money from it. Like, that's how I have been since I was very, very young. When I was 6, 7, 7, when you're in 4th grade, how old are you? I don't know. I'm so out of touch. I was in 4th grade. My parents were entrepreneurs. They had a crystal business. And I went into the garage and I found a bunch of gold-plated chains.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, these are really nice. I should sell these at school. So I took a handful of these gold-plated chains and I took them to school with me. And I went around and I wore one and I'm like, you like my chain? They're like, yeah. I'm like, $1. And they're like, I'm in 4th grade. Okay. I'm like, $1. And they're like, all right, gold chain. And then like the next guy's like, man, I saw Billy's gold chain. You know, I want one. Like, $1. I'm like, okay. So I took like 7 or 8 that day and I sold all 7. Now for a 4th grader to come home with like $7, $8 is like,
It's amazing.
okay.
I'm
So what did I do
rich.
the next morning? I went in and bought and cooked more. So I did this every day for a week.
Did they notice?
Let me tell you the story. So I did this every day for a week. And on like this 4th or 5th day, I was like coming home with like $50, $60. And every single kid in my elementary school was wearing gold chains.
Rocking the gold chain.
Every
Totally
single
Miami.
kid. This is LA. Okay.
LA?
LA, yeah. So all of a sudden, the teachers start noticing every single kid has gold chains. And so they're like, where did you get this gold chain from? Oh, Joaquin is selling them. And they're like, what? Like, so I get called into the principal's office.
Uh-huh.
And I go into the principal's office and my mom is there. I'm like, oh no, they found out about these gold chains. Like, I'm screwed. And so the principal's like, you know, we have a bunch of teachers that have reported that you're selling these gold chains to other students. And I'm like, yeah, you know, and they're like, well, that's illegal. I'm a 4th grade. You don't know what's illegal. Like, my brain was just like, I can make money.
I made
here.
$1.
You know, I made
You made
well,
$1.
I actually ended up. So they collected all the gold chains. I had to give all the money back.
No.
Yeah, I made $125. $125 in a week as a 4th grader. And my mom took me to ice cream afterwards. I didn't get in trouble. My mom saw that I was an entrepreneur from a very young age. And, you know, I have many other stories that kind of mirror that story, but that was the first one. And my mom, thank God, like she
Nurtured
she
that part
nurtured
of you.
that. Yeah, she nurtured that hard. You know, I have dyslexia. I failed 2nd grade. You know, I was not a good student when it comes to like reading, writing, spelling, math. But once I got into college, I started really understanding business math. I don't understand algebra. There are too many letters for math in that concept for me. But if you ask me to sell this cup for 20% and it costs you $4.50, I will tell you exactly how to sell it like that and the best way to market it and why it should be sold at 20%, not 30% profit margins, you know, or cost, excuse me. So my brain works in business math very well. But in like other types of stuff, didn't work at all. So my mom, you know, nurtured that and guided me that way. So coming back to your questions, sorry, long-winded, I apologize. Coming back to your question, you know, I can't look at a situation and not see a way to make money from it. I can't look at a situation, not see a way to start a business. So Jealous Fork we have some really awesome opportunities in the very near future that we're going to take advantage of. The business is going to grow, and we're going to need a lot more space in a food truck. That's all I'm going to say.
Amazing.
TM Poets is locked in. Like you also get that, like, don't mess with a good situation too much.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, you know, a friend of mine, she put up a post the other day that was like, as an entrepreneur, you do everything yourself. It's all on you. And like, I like responded, I'm like, I don't believe that's true at all. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to realize that you need to build a team around you because you can't do everything with yourself. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that, is that I couldn't be doing this interview here. I couldn't have Provider right now working and printing. I couldn't have Jealous Fork right now putting out pancakes if I didn't have staff, if I didn't have management at my businesses, if I didn't have a team underneath me to do the job of implementing my vision. And a team is like this table, right? You have the tabletop and you have the legs. And neither one is more important than the other. And whether you perceive yourself to be the tabletop or you perceive yourself to be the table legs makes absolutely no difference. But you got to know that they
Don't need each
live
other.
simultaneously together, because without them, it's 4 sticks on the floor or a piece of flat wood on the floor. So it doesn't matter whether you see yourself as the top of the table or the legs, but you got to work together to become a table, to be a table, to be a sturdy table. So I can't physically be here doing this with you without my team. And so in that respect, to have my team and to be able to grow each business is so vitally important. So TM Poets is locked in. This is gonna sound weird, but like, I don't physically work at TM Poets. I do payroll, I oversee operations, I make sure people are trained correctly. I manage TM Poets kind of like
Little
at the top.
details.
That's it. That's all I need to do. I have a great management. I have great staff, and that's all I need. Provider is the exact same way. I literally just manage the top of Provider, and that's it. It's got its staff, it's got its team, I don't need to touch it.
Yeah, it runs itself.
So like, I don't need to mess around with a thing that's already locked in. 6 years, 8 years. I don't need to touch them. And in a way, I am more excited about creating new concepts than opening up another Provider screen printing company and another TM Poets. I would enjoy opening those things, but it wouldn't fuel my creativity as much in opening a new concept or a new idea. So I got plenty more new concepts and new ideas. Those are on the way. There's zero doubt about that. But as far as Conscious Acts of Kindness, Provider, and TM Poets, they're all staying the course. The new one that is Jealous Fork, it's only 2 years old. And in business terms, 2 years is like infancy, especially in restaurant terms.
Absolutely.
In hospitality terms, is like, you're like, huh?
Yeah, you're just starting, right?
So
Either
larva.
you just started or you're about to fall off.
Or you're about to fall off. Exactly. So thank God it's not the latter. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. And there might be like a completely new concept in the pipeline. We'll see.
Well, one thing I want to go back to, when your mom nurtured that part of you at such a young age.
Shout out to mom, by the way, because not every parent has that eye or has
Exactly. Yeah,
that
that doesn't
will.
happen. Usually it'll be niño que te pasa, and then smack, get chancletazo left and right,
Yeah.
But my question is, how do you, now that you're in hindsight, you're much older, you're an adult, do you have kids?
No.
Not yet.
If you have,
Yet.
when you have a situation where you see a fourth grader with an entrepreneurial spirit, what would you consider nurturing that spirit? Because when you look at education and the society we live, when there's any chaos of any level in a school, the parents are ready to flip out, discipline the kid and move on. What would be your best advice to nurture someone's talents when you see the entrepreneurial
One, I think you
spirit?
need to pay attention to your kids.
Facts.
Like, I feel that with the invention of tablets and cell phones, parents aren't paying attention to their kids. They might miss all those signs. which is really sad. And you know this from being in the restaurant industry. Like, so many parents sit at the dining room table or the table in the restaurant, and they put their kids on tablets, and then they have a conversation between the two parents, and the kids are just sitting there. How are you going to know if your child wants to be a ballerina or an entrepreneur or a sports star or a mathematician if you don't engage with that child? So first out the gate, like you said, you shout out to mom. Well, let's also call out parents. Like, pull your kid off of the tablet and have a conversation with that child. That is just so important. I think that, I think it's our generation. Our generation of parents have really messed up, because the generation of parents before us, those things didn't exist. So we did have conversations at the table with our parents. But now our generation, which is starting to have kids, and they have these kids that are between 6 and 17, you're not connecting with your child. You are literally allowing your child to pick up a tablet and
be raised by it.
And be raised by that tablet. Be raised by YouTube. Like,
it's true.
So first, state is you need to be a conscious, connected parent. Like, that's super important. And then I think that once you see that your child, we're going to take entrepreneurship, right? Because that's what we're talking about. If you see that your child has an entrepreneurship interest, you need to cultivate that in some sort of small business that your child likes. Let's take the lemonade stand. It's a classic, like young entrepreneur thing. First of all, you've got to teach your child about quality of product. Okay, it's one thing to be an entrepreneur, but if you sell garbage, you're not going to be a great entrepreneur.
Not at all.
So don't, first of all, teach your kid how to make great lemonade. Study lemonade. Understand whether you need lemon and lime and what the ratio to sugar is and what kind of sugars. Is it just white sugar, or does brown sugar have a better taste? What happens if you toast the lemons? What happens if you add sparkling water to your lemonade? Like, first of all, educate yourself on the product. How am I supposed to sell this red cup if I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to go sell this red cup?
And you know nothing
about the red cup.
What kind of cup is it?
Yeah.
Is it biodegradable?
It's red.
Exactly. Like,
it's red. It's there. Buy it.
The classic, here's a classic thing. Like, oh, you want me to invest in you? Why you? Why your product? You see it on Shark Tank. People have approached me about business investments. And I'm always like, well, why? Why you? What makes your product unique? What makes you special? What makes this product special? If you can't answer that and knock that answer out of the park, not going to happen. So if you don't know your product, lemonade stand in this case, if you don't know the lemonade, you're not even going to get to the entrepreneur race. You won't have a cart to bring to the race. So study whatever product your child is interested in. Like, okay, lemonade stand. Let's research lemons. Are Meyer lemons better than Sunkist lemons? Are those Chiquita banana lemons better? Like, what's the best lemon? And then start to become a student of your craft. And then once you become a student of your craft, then take that next step, saying, okay, like, where am I going to put my lemonade stand? And so you start to teach your child about, like, the fundamentals of what makes a great entrepreneur, not just going out and doing it and saying you're an entrepreneur. And I think that's what a lot of non-children today are struggling with. Is it because entrepreneurship is now trendy and cool, and it just sounds cool to say you're an entrepreneur, and it sounds cool to be an entrepreneur? You don't really, you scratch the surface. Like, I always like to say, like, believe 20% of what people tell you until you can literally prove it. Be like, like, physically, this cup is really red and is on this table. Then you prove it. I believe 20% of what people tell you. Like, that's just so.
And all this research, development, and everything, you're doing it while engaged with the child. You're not doing all the homework for them.
No, I think it's like, okay, little Billy, let's eat dinner, and after dinner, let's open up our notebook and let's plan out this lemonade stand. Let's engage. Like, what a great connection with your child. Instead of being on YouTube. And instead of being
or telling them you go look it up,
or letting them go dance on TikTok or whatever the heck is going on, like engage with your kid, and then hey, you might see that lemonade is delicious, and who knows, maybe there's a legitimate entrepreneur in there that you really are going to cultivate, and something's going to happen.
They might be selling all your chains in school.
Yeah, you might be selling all your chains in school, right? I mean, so yeah, like, just connecting to your child, understanding the product that you're going to sell, going through that process with your child, and then the thing that's a little bit tough, like, we live in way more of a sue happy culture than when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so nowadays, you serve someone bad lemonade and they're coming after you.
Yeah.
And you're liable, and it has changed a little bit. So I would actually teach my child how to open up a company. I would say, you really want to do this? Like, maybe it's not, Billy's lemonade stand. Maybe it's Billy's marketing group that happens to sell lemonade, and can change if the lemonade fails. But at least understand what liability is. And I think a lot of parents don't take the time to really explain things to their children. And it's more kind of like you said, like, you go look it up. But there's a lot of enjoyment, at least from me, in the research of it. Like, I love being a student of my craft. That part is, and I hope that I am never done being a student of my craft. I hope that I'm always hungry. I know I will always be hungry to learn and kind of suck in more knowledge and study more. I'm teaching my kid, like, okay, now we're going to open up an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to, why, Dad? Why are we opening up a LLC? Well, there's something called liability. Well, what does that mean?
Oh, get ready. This is a course in liability now.
Like, what's wrong? What a great thing. Like, why not shoot for the stars?
All of
why
this,
downplay your kid?
I'm just gonna put this out there, but you should write a book or start a podcast.
Absolutely.
Or
Start a podcast.
Something.
Podcast. Let me tell you. Hearing all of this, and you're 100% right. I'm with you 100%. And the more I hear it, and I run it back in my mind, it seems like more like that's what you should do to everyone, not just kids.
Correct.
Everyone's so disengaged. They're not really. They're half-hearted. No, like you said earlier, when you think you're gonna start a clothing brand. I don't put a name on it. I put a little character. 4 people put it on. I'm rich. That's it.
It's not about
it's
just
done.
having your name on a sign.
Ego.
It goes from there's a fine. I think there's a gray line, a blurry area where it's stroking your ego or actually doing something. You know what I mean? And it's your advice, your perspective is definitely geared. Whoever's listening to this podcast, and it makes perfect sense. You gotta become part of the process. Do this homework. Become the student, the lifelong student of yourself and your project. So that's what I get out of it. And I just think it's crazy that when you said that thing about the T-shirt, how many people have we known that have done that? I'm gonna start a T-shirt company, put on 2 shirts, and it's a wrap. They don't move on to other things. You got to know when this works and when this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of things.
Going back to the T-shirt thing, you really see the type of friends in the community that you have when you open a business. T-shirt's a great example. When I opened my T-shirt business, every single friend that I had was like, let me get a free T-shirt. None of my friends were like, let me buy a T-shirt. And that's tough to see. It's tough because part of you wants to give your friends a T-shirt, right? Because they're gonna like rep it for you and go around and be like, hey, buy my boy's shirt, my boy's brand. And so part of that, yeah, but you would be so much better off if they were like, dude, congratulations, I can't wait to support you. What's your T-shirt? $15, $20, $30?
Yeah,
that's expensive for a T-shirt, but okay, I got you. And that happens with almost everything. When I open this place, like, oh, you got a tea shop, that's so cool, I'm gonna come by and get some free tea. So it's weird. The support of your friends is like, they feel like they're supporting you to go to your place or to get the thing that you're selling, but get it for free so they can tell people that they got it. It's weird. It's like it's twisted, and I often think a lot back about to those T-shirt days because failure is just, it is the greatest teacher.
I was gonna say those moments and those realizations I think are necessary. You got to sift through all the BS in life to get to where you are, and obviously you're very successful in the things that you've done, which is why I think you should definitely write a book.
Somewhere in there. I mean, I think I gotta slow down a little bit, but yeah. All right, done.
Shit, I think you should not.
Bits and pieces.
Keep going.
I like, I'm married, newlywed, so I only have so much time.
Yeah.
I have a very understanding wife who's probably at home wishing that she was having me cook dinner for her now, and I'm here. And so, like, she understands that.
She's like, where's my pancakes?
Yeah, where's my pancakes? She's like, stop cooking pancakes. The thing is, I get really into, like, going back to the student, I fell in love with chocolate chip cookies. And so for the past 3 months, I've broken down chocolate chip cookies to a science. And I believe that I have made the best chocolate chip cookie ever.
I'm gonna have to
And
taste
so, I cook these batches of chocolate chip cookies, and my lady's so happy, but she's also like, "You've got to
baking
stop.
cookies.
Like, you've got to stop." I
How do
was
we
like
get-
that way.
how
I
do
did
we-
ice cream about 4 months ago. I broke ice cream down to a science. Cinnamon rolls. I just get on these kicks. I made boba tea. Like, I broke boba tea down. I like made the boba balls and everything. Like, I don't know. That's how
Amazing.
my brain gets. And so I break this down, but she's not happy with that kind of stuff sometimes because it's too much like food at the house. Like, you're overfeeding me.
How do we
Chill
taste
out.
this dynamic cookie?
Say, do you have any more of that cookie?
You selling that?
No, you ate
that
it all?
cookie here?
No, I'm not selling it here. I just brought it in.
Oh
Yeah.
man!
Our barista ate it all.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
So, we'll see. Maybe there's something there. Who knows? Who knows?
We also, I want to mention now that we are here, that we have a holiday toy drive coming up.
yes.
We've actually done holiday toy drives here since 2016. And that's also in conjunction with live concerts with local artists. Tell me a little bit about the holiday toy drive that we do here at Tea and Poets.
So as you said, we've done this in the past, and it's been wonderfully successful. We will partner with a few local bands and other charities that are local here to Miami, and we will be taking in donations for unwrapped toys, and we will take in those donations as like tickets for concerts or tickets for shows. And once we get enough donated, we'll pick a charity here in South Florida, and we'll go drop off a bunch of toys for kids for the holidays.
Amazing.
So really excited about that.
That is awesome.
Joaquin, where can they find you, Tea and Poets, Jealous Fork, all of these wonderful profit and non-profit organizations that you are involved in?
Yes, we need to know
Okay.
where we could get these pancakes.
So I can't get the pancakes right now. The pancakes are proofing.
Got it. Got
Um,
it.
But you can follow Jealous Fork on Instagram, Jealous Fork.
And it's spelled exactly how it sounds.
JEALOUSFORK, Jealous Fork on
Alright.
Instagram. You can follow Tea and Poets, Tea and Poets,
Nice.
TEAANDPOETS. Conscious Acts of Kindness. I'll spell all that out if you want. CONSCIO. Really funny. So I'm really bad at really bad at spelling. And when I bought Provider Lifestyle, actually it was Provider Design. I own Provider Design and Provider Lifestyle. But when it was providerdesign.com, I spelled design wrong. And so I sent it. I swear to God. So I bought Provider Design spelled incorrectly. It's DESIGN. I think I bought DESNIG or something. I spelled it wrong. I spelled design wrong. Okay.
Oh God.
So I bought it, and I sent it to my web developer. I'm like, "Hey, make me this website, Provider Design, da da." And he goes like, "It's available for purchase." I'm like, "No! I just bought it. I swear to God, I just bought it." He goes, "Are you sure? Send me all the credentials." So I sent him everything. He goes, "Dude, you didn't buy Provider Design. You bought Provider Design." And I'm like, "Oh no!" So thank God I went back in and bought it the right way.
My
But
goodness.
yeah, conscious it was a tough one for me until I like started writing it all the time.
You have to write it
But
a
yeah,
few times. to
Conscious
get
Acts
through
of
it.
Kindness, and then Joaquin Provider, JOAQUIN PROVIDER, and I update all that stuff daily. So
Man, so if anyone wants to follow you on social media, do you only do Instagram or do you do other
there's,
platforms?
like these days, there's so many social media things. It's crazy. Like social media is a full job. Like it is a full job, and I do all the social media for all my businesses, and that is tough. Like creating content is difficult, posting is difficult, keeping up with the amount of DMs that you get from one business is tough. That has 10, 15,000 followers. Then you want to talk about adding 2 or 3 in there is like, auto response is a godsend. I'm like, oh, where am I located? Boop. When's open mic night? Boom. Where can I buy the pancakes? Boop. Like I have them all auto response after long enough, and thank God. So that helps a lot. Oh, interested in t-shirts? Boom.
Nice.
So. But yeah, I try to keep it to Instagram. It just makes it like we're on TikTok with my businesses. I don't have the time. Like
it's a full-time
It's
job.
time-consuming.
It really is. It really.
and I know there's apps where you can like post to one and then you like it gets you all 3. Like it's tough. Like the next hire, I have a marketing manager here and at Tea and Poets, and so she does oversee Tea and Poets events, which helps a lot and alleviates a lot of the event questions that we get here.
But what about, do you have a website?
Yeah.
with
Oh, thank you.
everything on
Website.
there?
Yeah. Tea and Poets has its own website, teaandpoets.com, jealousfork.com, providerlifestyle.com. Conscious Act of Kindness.org. Yeah, they all have they're all there.
beautiful.
Google them. They're all there. They're all
Nice,
there. Everything
nice.
is there. Yeah, everything is there.
Are there any shout outs that you would like to give, or any additional information or advice that you'd like to put out there before we go?
No, I want to thank both of you. You guys have been
Awesome.
great. This was really cool. For my first podcast, I really appreciate both of you. Thank you. You guys were wonderful hosts. This was a lot of fun.
Excellent. This is good.
Thank
Nico.
you for
Good
having
stuff.
us.
Yeah, real, of
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah, we're recording live. We're here at Tea and Poets. The music you've been hearing in the background is what they're listening to. The crowd here listens
yes.
to.
What's up, buddy? Welcome. That's one of our
yeah.
local vendors. He sells us vegan pumpkin spice cookies and chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, wow.
my God.
Right in
Yeah.
time for fall.
Time for fall, exactly.
Yeah, man. And
What's
this
up, buddy?
this has definitely been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much for being a
course.
part of the podcast.
Of course.
How you doing? All right, man. So, anything else any last bits of
No,
advice
this
you
was
want to
so
throw
much fun.
anyone? You want to tell
Advice?
anyone that wants to become an
Dude,
entrepreneur?
this is gonna be so cliche, but like, don't give up. I know it sounds like it's the most cliche thing, but like, you're just as an entrepreneur, you are gonna get your butt kicked so hard, and the greatest thing that you could have is your own will and your own drive, believing in yourself, believing in your product, and having a good support system around you, and just don't give up. Like, every single one of us gets the shit kicked out of us. Like, it's just
Numerous times.
times. Like, just keep
Some more
going.
than others.
Keep going. It sounds so silly, but like that is really the advice. Just don't give up.
Yo, those are the last words, man. We're with it. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, guys.
being part of the
This is
podcast.
awesome.
By the time whoever's listening to this podcast, you can follow Joaquin on all his social medias, his websites, his organizations, his .org, .coms, everything else. He's got pancake batter still proofing. Things are coming up in the future. We'll definitely keep you guys posted on our social medias, and we'll point it out at your profiles. Good luck to you. Thank you so much for doing this. And man, congratulations on everything you've been able to do, man. It's definitely an amazing creative outlet. You're an amazing creative individual to be able to go from thought, concept, execution. So that's a different world altogether, man. So kudos to you, sir. Awesome. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. All the best for you and for all of our listeners. Signing off till next time. This is Dre Mav.
And this is Struck. La Paz. Peace.